Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this new figure unboxing and review, we're going to be looking at the Studio Series 86 Autobot Ratchet figure. This one, unfortunately though, is the version of him heavily damaged because of that confrontation on the Ark from the movie. So in this video, we're going to just be checking out him. You probably already noticed the Brawn figure is uploaded. We're going to start off with looking at the packaging, and to be honest, the artwork is really good, even if it is a little bit horrific. If we turn it around to the side, again, we've got that same image on the side. You'll have to excuse the makeshift studio I'm doing this in. And on the back, we can see that it's going to take 25 steps to transform. It's exactly the same mold, apart from the chest, etc., as the original. So we're going to have a check at that against the original. Then we'll, of course, bring in all of the other damaged ones and see how they all look together. So we're going to start off with looking at the main body. So here he is then, fresh out of the packaging, and we do need to attach a few of the accessories to him first and foremost. So if we spin him around to the back, we've got these two ports here, and we've got, of course, the light bar from the ambulance mode, where we can just quickly attach these via this little tab. These are, of course, don't forget, wrapped up in little bits of paper, so don't throw all the paper bits away. If we turn it around, we've also got his two guns, and these are exactly the same as the original use of the mold. And then in total, we've got about 7 different blast effects that I've got scattered around in all the other figures. You'll see in a second. So the obvious first thing to see, which is of course different, is the horrified look on his face, and indeed the battle damage to his chest. I actually, not because it's battle damage and he looks horrific, I like the detail they've gone to the, it's not just, you know, a cracked windscreen. You can see they've actually gone right through. In fact, is that the same as the Ironhiders have said that? So there you go. Unfortunately, it is. It's exactly the same as the Ironhide damage as well. The face is obviously different and the head sculpt is different, but the actual damage on the inside is the same. We've, of course, got the painted windows now, not the translucent. I'm going to be bringing in the other figure in a second to do some more comparisons. In fact, let's have a look at his articulation first. So the head sculpt will spin all the way around. It's on a mushroom peg. It'll look up and down. The arms will go out to a full T. They'll go all the way around unrestricted. They'll swivel just beneath the shoulder. There's some bicep flexion, and there's even a wrist swivel because, of course, this is a Voyager class sized figure. There's also a waist swivel, and there's not really an ab crunch, but you can make it look like that with how the hips do work. So you can see that the hips work really well, actually. If you pull the hip skirt up, it'll kick right out. You can do the full splits if you want him to, and of course out to the side. Again, this is all unrestricted. There's a swivel there underneath the thigh. There's a knee bend. He's got quite big thighs and shins, etc., but that's because, of course, everything is all folded into there. But he does have a really good and effective ankle tilt, rock and toe tap. So what I'll do now, I'm going to bring in his original Ratchet itself rather than the Ironhide, and now you can see that there's quite a few differences, apart from, of course, the translucent windscreen. Now they've done this similarly to Brawn. There's subtle color changes. So for this looks more sort of like what I would call maybe a gloss finish, and this is a bit more matte. So if you can see what I mean, this is a bit more shiny. It look, I suppose that's the only terminology I can use for it, the fact that it looks shiny. The really obvious things, though, again, is the fact that the windows are all painted. Unlike the Brawn figure, the silver parts on here are still exactly the same. What I mean by that is on the Brawn figures, I noticed that the newer version was like a painted grey, whereas the older version was silver. So there's less differences, less things changed on this than what there was with the Brawn figure. Of course, you can see the main difference being the translucent plastic. Right, there we go, guys. We're going to now quickly look at his alternate mode, then we'll come back again with him in robot mode, bring in Ironhide, see some of the differences there, and indeed the rest of the damaged figures from the Studio Series 86 line. Let's have a look at him in his ambulance mode. So then here he is in his alternate mode. Apologies for no transformation process. That's because it will be separately uploaded, as I intend to keep the length of the video down. However, what I do want to, of course, remind you is it's exactly the same mold as the previous use of the Ratchet figure and Ironhide as well. However, what I would like to add is that has definitely been the easiest transformation of this particular use of the mold I've ever had. So for anybody who owns the original, I suppose, exact figures from this mold, there was a huge issue with clipping and tabbing this in. This one went in no problem whatsoever. So maybe it's fourth time lucky. It looks like they've addressed that particular issue. What I'm referring to, again, for people who haven't experienced this mold, it was so hard getting these two clips in here. I think it was with Ironhide first, and unfortunately with the Ratchet that came out afterwards, and indeed then the other version of Ironhide, it was still really difficult, but this just popped in no problem whatsoever. So as you can see, the wheels are all on 4 pins. They all go around no problem whatsoever. This is quite a clever, you could call them like a panel folder or a panel former. A lot of this is all tucked up into his pretty big shins, which I'm sure you can all tell with the other one behind it. So obviously we've got the painted windows in, and as I say, the white just looks a little bit duller, even with this bright light shining on it. You've still got the silver inside the wheels. This lines up perfectly, and then you can, if you wanted to, you can take these off, and if you want to, you can attach some of your blasters to them, which again sort of makes me laugh because it's an ambulance and you're turning it into a war machine. So if you wanted to, you could attach it, but then with that, I don't think there's anywhere. Oh yeah, you could if you wanted to. Then perhaps you could store these underneath. If you're on about weapon storage, I know that some people like to do that. Yes, that fits there perfect. So if you wanted to have the blasters underneath, you could put them there, and I suppose you could then reverse the other way around. Oh, there's some points there where you could put and store these. Yep, there we go. So if you wanted to be able to just keep all of the accessories out and keep the box in storage, you can store all of the accessories on, which I always think is a brilliant feature, because then there's nothing worse than having to root through old boxes to find the accessories. But to be honest, there's not much more to show you about the alternate mode. Of course, we've still got the smashed window, and that's pretty much it. That's the only major differences, the ones I've pointed out. So that's the alternate mode covered. We're going to come back for the final time with him in his robot mode, have a look at him with the rest of the figures, and just do a few more final comparisons. Okay then, back for the final time with him in his robot mode. Let's have a look at him with his accessories. And again, another quick apologies for my makeshift review stage. I just put these guys up on my Instagram earlier in the day and I had so many requests for videos on them. I'm doing it in my hotel room as we speak. So there we go. Here are the blasters which fit into the hands like so. Of course, as I said, he's got the wrist swivel so you can pose them probably far better than I can, in all honesty. I'm useless at posing these figures. Obviously the light bar's on the back, so that is still there. You could, of course, as I say, have him lying down because he's been shot at, and then you've got a choice of, I suppose, ways that he could have, of course, met his match, either with that one. I think that one tends to look the best, to be honest, or perhaps just before that happens to him, you can then attach these smaller blast effects to him to make him look like he's at least, you know, putting up a little bit of a fight. That perhaps doesn't look the greatest, let's be honest, but I think, as bad as it sounds, that fits absolutely perfect. But before we put that on and bring the rest of the damaged ones in, you've seen, and I've mentioned the other molds usage of this particular figure. So if my memory serves me correct, this is usage 1 of the mold. This was usage 2. These aren't going to fit on this little makeshift stand. That was 3, and then, as I say, this is 4. But you'll be pleased to know, as I say, the transformational process on this, they do seem to have rectified it. Let me move all these out of the way, because what I want to do now, very quickly again at the end, if you haven't seen the others, is I just want to get all the damaged ones on here. As again, we've all discussed this on social media, and I've mentioned it before on this particular channel, I don't think we're done with just the ones we've got here. I'm fully expecting a wind charger and wheeljack 2-pack just as soon as we do get that wind charger figure that we are still waiting for, of course, in Legacy. There, unfortunately, is Prowl, who met his match, and then, as I say, his mold mate from this particular set is Brawn. So if you want to see the Brawn video, that's separately uploaded. And just a quick remember, if you haven't seen it, there's quite a few color differences with this particular one. But there you go, guys. This can obviously recreate one of the most horrific scenes from most of our childhoods, but there they are for you. They are the Studio Series 86 damaged Autobots from the Ark. Let me know what you think of them in the comments, please. Take care.